honestly has been troubling me. Well, let's call it disappointment, actually. Disappointment in corporate South Africa for its lack of accountability. And obviously, this is not the entire private sector. So this story about economist Thabi Leoka and the lies about holding a PhD has revealed something about corporate South Africa. You know, the private sector always wants to be seen as cleaner, as more ethical, as more transparent, as more accountable than our government, for instance. And that's a perception that some people actually hold about this sector. But I think the failure, in fact, failures we have seen over the years have demonstrated that this very perception is flawed. I don't think there's any scandal that has demonstrated that more than what happened at Steinhoff. Anyway, after I had a conversation with Thabi Leoka on this show last week, and it became clear that she doesn't have this PhD, I asked the producers to get in touch with MTN and Anglo-American because she sits on the board of these companies, well, until this week. She's now resigned from these companies. They sent very short statements yesterday saying, and I quote, she resigned to attend to her health and questions she has been facing concerning her academic qualifications, end quote. And here's my gripe. Anglo-American and MTN are not even taking accountability or responsibility for what appears to be lapses in their governance processes. These companies have a duty to conduct a personal credential verification process of their employees or board members. And Thabi Leoka confirmed to me in our conversation on WhatsApp that the companies she sits on the board of, have actually done this verification. She even sent me a verification report, which I told you about last week, which didn't pick up her PhD. This means those people did a verification report. They saw that there was a misrepresentation of sorts when it comes to the PhD, and they still kept her on the board. And anyone who falsifies their qualifications is surely not fit to serve on the board of a company that requires and preaches good governance ethics. I mean, aren't board members the protectors of good governance? I mean, when due diligence wasn't exercised and there have been failures in governance, why is MTN and Anglo-American not taking accountability and learn from the mistakes and the failures? Because there have clearly been lapses here, and that's an oversight. Either the verification process wasn't done, or it was done, and the companies, upon realizing the verification process didn't pick up the PhD, they looked away, and they continued as if nothing happened. And don't get me wrong, Thabi Leoka doesn't need to have a PhD to sit on a board. Her qualifications and skills are not the issue here. The problem is the misrepresentation, the lie, the falsifying. And I think any company that is serious about good, ethical corporate governance must be alarmed by that. Netcare Group, and you've got to give it to this company. Netcare Group is the only company that has taken responsibility. Thabi Leoka used to sit on the board of Netcare. They released a detailed statement admitting to turning a blind eye to a verification report it commissioned before appointing her as a non-executive director in 2021. That report indicated that her highest achievement is actually a master's degree. So Netcare said, in hindsight, we should have inquired about the PhD that wasn't picked up. They said, we accept that due diligence was not exercised. And they promised to do better and learn from these lapses. And I commend them for that. Isn't that what you expect from any corporate company that's serious about good corporate governance? But no, Anglo-American and MTN, not an ounce of accountability, none whatsoever in their communication to the public, their clients, their stakeholders, whom they are accountable to. They released a 2-3 line statement saying, she's resigned. What does that communicate to you about these companies? Companies need to learn from mistakes. They need to tighten their vetting processes for future board candidates. Them taking accountability for lapses in government doesn't make them weak. In fact, that messaging demonstrates that they are transparent. It demonstrates that they are accountable to their shareholders. I would have expected that they take responsibility without revealing too much and then say, this is how we plan to prevent such an incident from happening again. And they move on. I was really disappointed to see how they responded yesterday. The companies that Thabi Leoka worked for, that failed to either verify her credentials or that ignored the verification process, that didn't pick up a PhD, have taken a knock on their reputation. And I think, just like Thabi Leoka, who keeps on lying and refusing to take accountability, the companies are damaging their reputation even further. What do you think? 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. 18 minutes after 9.
Remember